Hey there, and welcome to Conversations Worth Your While. It's a podcast where we dig into ideas and insights that help you to unleash what you were born to bring. I chat with heart led experts. I ask the questions that I know you're already thinking, and we explore conversations that will spark growth, shift perspectives, and help you to show up fully in your life, in your career, for your family, everywhere. Today, we're exploring entering your next chapter without losing yourself to pressure and expectations. And I know you're probably like, oh, yes. And this conversation is worth your while because in life, we enter countless new chapters. And each of those new chapters comes with expectations that aren't fully your own. So, whether you're stepping into college or it's a new career or a career pivot or you're starting a business, the pressures come from absolutely every direction. They'll come from your family, from your friends, from your colleagues, from your community, from investors, and even your well meaning mentors. So, when pressure takes the reins, then your clarity fades and the joy that's meant to live in your next chapter just slips away. So, today's conversation is going to be great. We are going to help you to navigate the pressure and expectations so that you can stay connected to yourself as you move into what comes next for you. So, I'm your host, Linda Bucher. I do have the best job in the world. I guide impact driven humans like you to get unstuck and unleash what you were born to bring. This work is my passion. And so, what I'm doing really is helping to create a world where people live from their gifts and shine with purpose and spark the kind of change that lights up entire communities. And the way I do it is I see your truth before you can name it. I have this rare ability to sense the deeper identity that you are growing into, not just where you're stuck. And I create safety for you to be fully seen. And then that allows huge breakthroughs. I translate your inner knowing into actionable clarity and help you to move from I can feel something stirring to I know what this means and I know what my next step is. And this is something that most people just can't bridge on their own. So I will help you to come home to who you are versus fixing a behavior or reinventing yourself. That's just buzzwords, and that's not actually what we're doing. So if you're feeling stuck or frustrated and you're unsure what your gifts really are, just head on over to lindabucher.com. It's a really great start. There's a lot of good free stuff for you, a lot of good tools, etc. So hop on over to there. That's lindabucher.com. Okay, so let's dive in. Today, our conversation once again is about entering your next chapter without losing yourself to pressure and expectations. And today I have the pleasure of being joined by Christa Downey. She is a growth coach who's making positive ripples in her own unique way. She guides people who know what they want to leverage their strengths and abilities to get where they want to be. So hi, Christa. Thanks for being here today.
Hi, thank you for having me, Linda. It's a pleasure.
It is a pleasure for me too. So, can you just tell us a little bit more about, what you do, who you serve, and how you're making your beautiful ripples in the world?
Yes, thank you. I love working with people who are entering new spaces. Like you said, they know what they want and they're just trying to figure out how exactly to get there. And then they want to thrive when they arrive. So, for example, this could be young people entering college or a new career. It could be leaders stepping into a new role. It's often founders who realize, oh, okay, now here I am. I'm a CEO. What does that mean? What does this look like? So, it's a lot of fun.
It is awesome. Good. Thank you. So, okay. So, today we're talking about when we enter a next chapter, and you brought up some really good examples like, entering into college or, leave when you leave college and you're entering into this adult working world for the first time. Or, you've picked a career. It happens a lot. It happened to me. I was 45 when I was like, wait a minute, this career is not doing it for me. I want something new. And I wasn't really clear about what it was. And then once I was, these pressures and expectations were like, so
Yes.
briefly, what that was for me at 45, I graduated college with a dual major in MIS and management. MIS is management information systems, basically the liaison between computer programmers and business people so you can design systems that support business. and you're speaking the language of both, because they don't really speak the same language, right? People who know business inside and out do not speak programming language, and vice versa. So that's where I started. So I started out as a programmer for a number of years. I moved into a financial analyst. I did a lot with finance. Then I did a lot with some marketing and a marketing department. Then I moved back into IT, where I was a project manager for a number of years. So I learned so much along the way. I really loved what I was doing until one day when it just stopped feeling right. And that happens to a lot of people. So sometimes that change comes from within, and sometimes it comes from without. Like, okay, I graduated college. Now what do I do? Do you have any story about the change itself? Like, what happens?
Yeah, actually, as you're talking, I'm thinking all the way back to when I was an undergrad. I was an undergraduate business major at Carnegie Mellon University. I took computer science classes back in the day. That MIS story really brought back some memories. And when I was graduating and applying to graduate school in higher education and telling my business school friends, people said, but there's no money in that. You're not going to make money. And, there were a lot of pressures and expectations. Here I was with this degree where people are expected to go and make some money. And I was heading in a different direction. And so, there was a lot of navigating pressures at that time. And
yeah.
Looking back decades later, because how many years later, decades, it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it. And I'm glad that I pushed through and did what was true to my heart.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. Well, I finally pushed through at 45 years old and left that IT world. Now, at the time, I was a widowed mom of 3 little children. And so people thought I was insane. What do you mean you're leaving your secure, high-paying job? Like, you have 3 little kids. You can't not have a source of income. Are you insane? And maybe I was a little insane, but I really don't think so. I really think I was betting on myself.
Yeah.
I recognized what was happening when I wasn't in alignment, and I wanted to just write that. I wanted to get back in alignment with who I was. It took me a little time, to get the clarity of what I really wanted and what was right for me. But once I found it, I was like, I'm just going to bet on myself. Of course, as soon as I did, that's when all those pressures started coming in. I didn't second guess myself, but it's pretty easy to do that. I did have some savings, so it wasn't like, I was putting my kids at risk,
Right.
Not eat or anything, But yeah, we get this pressure. It starts coming in as soon as we make a decision. So a lot of times people are afraid to realign because what will everybody think is a big, whoa, right?
Yes, I am navigating that right now as well. 2 months now ago, I left a full-time job, and I was 4 years away from official retirement with all of the very nice benefits and perks that would come with that. And right, so the pressure, paying for college tuition for my teenager feels a lot closer now and a lot more. Yeah, a pressure. It's a different kind of pressure now. Right. And yet also I'm leaning into it, figuring out, how to explore the possibility.
I like that you brought in the actual other types of pressure. So I was talking about the pressure from other people, right? But you're talking about a real financial pressure. I got a teenager who's going to be headed to college. How can I do this big thing? How can I make this change? Right. So these pressures are real, whether they come from other people or financial realities or location realities. Like, there's a lot of things in life that get away, that can get in the way. So let's talk about expectations. We've talked a little bit about pressure, but let's talk about expectations. Mm-hmm. What's expected of us? I think it was Carl Jung who said, we spend the first half of our lives being who we think we're supposed to be, hence expectations. Mm-hmm. And the second half of our lives, and what I say, this is where Linda comes in, not Carl Jung, either stepping into this alignment of who am I, what do I want, and how do I build my life around that, or becoming a cantankerous curmudgeon in our old age. I think there's only
Yes.
two ways that's going, and one
Right.
is not a good example for my children. That's why I bet on myself, right? Because I
Yes.
said, I want my kids to recognize that when they're out of alignment, you realign. You don't hope and wait for something or some magical thing to happen or someone to come along and rescue you. You make the change.
Yes.
You bet on yourself and you make the change. And if I didn't do that, how could I teach them? I could say it, but it wouldn't,
Yes.
now they saw it. They got to live that, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so that's a beautiful thing. So expectations. Do you have any stories of expectation?
Right, right. So, yes, the expectations are all around from family, from friends, colleagues. And again, that betting on yourself and role modeling to children and others, here's what's possible. Here's what happens when you can bet on yourself. So many of the conversations I have with people, from the young people exploring career options and just getting started, to leaders taking on new roles or stepping out of big roles to try something new like you or I, the expectations are real and they can really weigh people down and hold people back from doing the things that they want to do.
Yeah. And I like that you brought up young people. I have clients who are college students and just post college,
Yeah.
just entering into adulthood. And, um, when we're children, we believe our parents know everything, that they're just infallible in some way. Like they know, and they're guiding us because they love us. And, they're mitigating our risk when we're very young.
Yeah.
And then there
Yeah.
comes a point sooner than their parents are ready that they can no longer really mitigate your risk. They're not managing your risk because you're kind of, doing things on your own when you're a teenager a lot. Um,
Mhm.
but yet what our minds tell us is that if we let our parents down, if we don't live up to their expectations, that there's something wrong with us, that maybe we're ungrateful for them funding our college, or
Right.
we're afraid we might lose their emotional support, not just financial support, but emotional support if we move in a direction that they don't approve of. It's very difficult. And it's not just young people. I had a client of a different culture than, she was a first generation American. And the culture was, we parents, we moved here to give you a better life. So you need to become you need to have a certain career path and that I approve of. And this is what happens. And you need to also have a certain marital status. And I don't care if your
Mm.
husband cheats on you, you stay because that's what you do. Right. So it's not just young people who live under these expectations. Sometimes it's our culture, our parents, even when we're older, we're still trying to please them because we're worried of what will happen if we choose ourselves. And it's a real
Yeah.
worry.
It is. It is a real worry. It's the parents, the family, often the spouses, right? Have a lot of influence. There's a lot of pressure and expectations there because you've built up a certain lifestyle, whether that's financially or how you spend your days and when you're available to people. So those pressures are real. And it's the peers who, see and the mentors who say, but you've come this far, continue with this thing, do this thing. You have so much potential. It's real.
Right. Yeah. And we don't want to be called a quitter. Don't want to think we're
Right.
a quitter. Um,
Right.
you know, okay. So now let's shift our conversation a little because I think we both got it. We get it. We understand people we work with, our own stories, and the pressure is real. It's not pretend. And we're not here to talk our listeners out of the fact that there is pressure because it is real. What I would like to do though today is shed some light on this realignment, really,
Yes.
because as you enter a new chapter, there's some things you can do that will help you stay aligned, but also help you navigate the pressures and expectations. So let's start with the alignment, and then secondary, we'll talk about the, you know, the navigating the pressures. So, all right. So alignment. So I have something, someday I shall be famous for this quote. Are you ready? You want to hear it?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. When you
Tell
wrap
me.
what you're doing and how you're doing it around who you are, Success and happiness will meet you there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So that's like you're the hand, and what you're doing and how you're doing it is the glove. It's got to fit just perfectly, not be too big, not be too floppy, not be shaped
Yes.
like a shoe. It needs to be fit like a
Yes.
glove. So, so that is my premise. Okay. And it's not just a premise that's unproven. I am living this. What I do and how I do it is exactly in alignment with who I am. And who I am is not different when I'm on a camera. It's not different when I'm with a client. It's not different when I'm with my husband. It's not different when I'm with my kids. I am the same me, 1000%. I'm never posturing. I'm never pretending. I'm never having imposter syndrome. So it's proven. Success and happiness is where I live. It's a manner of traveling. It's not a destination. It's a manner of traveling. Okay.
Yeah, I
So
love it.
so let's start there with this little premise about alignment. What are your thoughts on alignment?
I 100% agree. And I encourage people to take time to dream, to really think about that. What does it look like when you are there, when you have this alignment? How do you show up differently in the world? Maybe your family and friends will be thrilled to see how you are able to show up when you are living in alignment and what's possible. And don't let your assumptions get in the way of that, of thinking, oh, if I choose this, I can't have this. If this, I can't have this, or then I must have this. No, no. Dream about what's possible and how it can all come together, and then we'll figure it out.
Right. A lot of times a lot of people don't know, like they'll come to me and they'll be like, I don't know what it is. Cause that's how I was when I was 45. I'm like, I don't know what life I'm meant to be living. I just know what it isn't. I don't know what it is, but I know what it isn't. Well, that's very helpful because by contrast, we can start to define what we want. And usually with my clients, I'll start and do it by feel. Because right now they might feel tethered or confined or nervous or, fearful or judged or expected. And so we take each one of those words and I just say, well, what's the antonym? Because that's probably where you want to be because you're telling me where you don't want to be. So let's play with those antonyms and see, where do you want to feel? You want to feel free. You want to feel like free and ease, despite people. We can't stop judgment. Like you cannot stop what other people think. Their thoughts belong to them, just like your thoughts belong to you. But we can stop making it mean something about us.
Yes.
Right. And know and see other people's judgments and expectations for what they truly are, which is what I call fear boots. It's the boots of fear that they are living in and the schmutz on their lens of their glasses. They cannot see any differently than through their own lens of their own experiences and their own fears and their own insecurities. And depending how afraid they are, their fear boots, like there's some hip waders for some people, it comes up to their neck for other people. They cannot see past that. They don't even know what they're making it mean, but they can't see past that. And when you understand that everyone is seeing you through their lens of their insecurities and their fears and their life experiences, then you realize they cannot see you clearly. The only one who ever has a potential of seeing you clearly is you.
Right.
And that's only if you deschmutz your own lens from those fears and insecurities and making what you make the past experiences mean or how you see them.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That resonates so much. Yes. Yes. Yeah. For example, now I have this freedom of time and location that I didn't have when I had a full-time job for someone else. So I'm spending the week in the Adirondacks house sitting for someone. That's where I'm calling in from. And after I get off this call in the middle of the afternoon, it's bright and sunny out and I'm going to go skiing at Whiteface. So, right.
Nice. I hope it's warmed up there a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I didn't go this weekend. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So same thing with me because of what I do. I winter in Florida now. I am in Bonita Springs, Florida right now, and I will be here into May. And then I will go back to Buffalo, New York, where it is freezing and where I hail from originally and for my whole life. And now for only 8 months a year. But yes, to me, like one of the things you brought up is when you're discovering your next chapter, something very important is to consider freedom. What kind of freedom do you want? Because you're entering your new next chapter. So you do get to decide what the boundaries of it are. So say you're, like you and I have our own businesses. So basically, I'm an easy boss and I got no boundaries whatsoever that I don't want to have. But I do have boundaries like on my time, my working hours. I get to set those. And but some people, like, they might be on a career pivot, right? Or just coming out of college, just entering a career for the first time. You still can have boundaries, but boundaries are something that is for you, not against someone else. It's not that. It's not, like the gate at the end of the boat says you can't come in, because I don't like you. It's something you do loving for yourself, right?
Right.
So you can still create and align with your next job if you're going to be pivoting in a career. If you get to know yourself and what's right for you, that is the first step. So before you start creating that resume, before you start looking, you have to be honest with yourself and say, who am I now? And what do I want? What kind of freedom do I want? What kind of life balance do I want? What kind of fulfillment do I want? Only once you know the answers to those three questions can you redefine what success means for you, right? Because it has to be, again, wrapped around, here's the hand, right? It has to be wrapped around. Once you know what success looks like for you, now you can back into how much money would that take, which is sometimes, and for me, it was less than I thought. And now how do I want to move forward with this next chapter, given that I know these answers? And what boundaries do I want to set, knowing what freedoms I want? Where are my boundaries, right? Maybe your boundaries, you only work from home so that you can work from anywhere, right? Maybe your boundary is something completely different. Maybe it's, I shut off my work phone at 5:30 and that's it. And, and your voicemail says, I'll be happy to respond to this on our next business day, right? So, but if you don't start to really know who you are, if you don't ask the right questions before you enter this next chapter, then you're probably going to find yourself just where you are now, which is like, pressure, expectations. I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I should be. What's happening?
Yes. Yeah. I see that all the time with people that I work with, or just people in my life as well. And, not to say, you and I have been there too before, right? You have to move through that. You have to find a way through that.
Yeah. Okay, let's move our conversation to navigating the real pressures. Okay, so I did talk about, bring up so far about it is real that other people are seeing you through their own lens of schmutz as they stand in their fear boots. But what can we do, right? What can we do when we are actually experiencing these expectations? I remember when I first started this coaching business, one of the early things my dad kept asking is, are you making any money? Are you making any money? Are you making any money? Okay. And I will tell you, at least once or twice a year, I still hear that sentence, although I've been in business 16 years. I'm like, I'm good, Dad. It's all right. But what is actually happening is my whole life, what he's been saying in all of his well-meaning advice, which sounds like do it my way because maybe you're not smart enough to do it the right way, even though that's not what he means. But that's what it sounds like when it comes out. My way is the right way. Any way other is not the right way. But what he really means is I love you and I'm afraid. That's it. I love you and I'm afraid. So this is probably one of the most important shifts I ever made for the relationship I have with my dad. And because it worked so well, I can recognize in any relationship to see someone for the fact that they love me and they're afraid for me. And therefore, I no longer feel judged. It's a huge, important tool. Just here, I taught my kids, when Papa tells you what you should do this, do that, do this, do that. All you got to hear is, I love you and I'm afraid. And the only response to that is, I love you too. Yeah. So it takes it from feeling judged. You're not feeling judged. You're feeling loved. And that is huge. So when you're navigating people who love you, who have expectations, who are, pressuring you, Just hear, I love you and I'm afraid. And if that's all you get out of this conversation today, I can't tell you how huge that is.
It really is. Yeah, that's a great reminder. Trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes. What is it they are really afraid of? Yeah. What is it they are really trying to say? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because we don't know what they're really afraid of, but we do know they're saying, I love you and I'm afraid. And it's
Yes.
surprising if you just go through every time someone says something, because here's the thing. If someone insults your shoes, like, in a restaurant, you could care less. You're like, why do I care what you think about my shoes? But someone you love goes, you're going to wear those shoes. You're like, ooh, should I not wear these shoes?
Right.
All of a sudden you
Right.
make it mean something because they love you. So, but you don't make it mean they love you. You make it mean there's something wrong with your choices. And that's
Right.
not true. If your choices are lying to you and are made through your gut instincts, then there's never going to be anything wrong with your choices. The only time we make wrong choices is when we get too much in our head, or we're trying to please other people, or we're afraid. We're making choices out of fear instead of out of love. That's when our choices get us in trouble. They don't get us in trouble when they're fully aligned. So those people who we care about, and we're afraid that if they judge us, they might not love us anymore, that little child thing anymore. That's not true. Just because they don't get you doesn't mean they won't love you.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Woo! All right. So, do you have any ways that you like to help people navigate pressure and
Right.
expectation?
I do. Yeah. So I do help people dream. Some people struggle with that dreaming part,
Mm.
figuring out what's really important to me and what do I really want. And so I do work with people through that. And I think, it's different for everybody. Sometimes conversation helps draw that out. Sometimes they want to journal on it or meditate on it or go for a run or a walk and think about it. And they're getting clarity on what's really important. And the next piece is getting clarity on what happens if you don't do that. Maybe if you don't do it now, or if you don't pursue it ever, what happens?
Yes.
What really does that look like if you choose to just keep pushing that down?
Right. The cost of being out of alignment. There's a giant cost. You and I both know it. That's why we switched our careers. And
Right.
the thing is, by the time I did it, I was having like a body breakdown, because we physically manifest in our body what's going on in our heads. We always do
Right.
that. And so my gallbladder wasn't working. It was down to like 24%. The doctor wanted to take it out. I had gained a lot of weight. I had I couldn't sleep for more than about 15 minutes because from the middle of my head down to my lower back was very stiff and in pain all the time. And I couldn't sit in a meeting at work for more than about 7 minutes. I have to get up. Sitting was just killing me. And my body was just like, yo, hello, hello. It is like
Yes.
the voice of the GPS. We have an inner GPS and we're going the wrong way. Our body is the voice that says, make a U-turn, make a U-turn, abort mission. You're going the wrong way. And a lot of
Absolutely.
times we don't listen to it. And we think, oh, we just got to medicate over this or get a surgery or whatever. As soon as I started listening to my gut instinct that said, stop this wrong trajectory and move into what you were put on this earth to do, your purpose, find it, live it, do it, which is what I'm doing right now. The weight came off. My gallbladder functions perfectly, and my back and neck pain gone. And I did not treat those medically.
Wow.
I just realigned. And then my
Yeah.
GPS says, keep going, keep going. You're
Yes.
going in the right direction. Yeah.
Yes. I hear that. I hear that story so often from people who are on the other side, right? And then you're able to look back and say, oh, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
This is what worked. This was the solution the whole time. Doing
Yeah.
what I love. Yeah.
Yeah. You even hear about like, I have a cousin who for so many years couldn't get pregnant. And when she quit her job, bam, she just needed to get rid of all this pressure. She had too much
Yes.
pressure and she needed her body was just like, we're not doing anything that's going to add more pressure. Like
Yeah.
we need the pressure to come off, it's in there's a lot of stories like that. A lot of stories about what our bodies do when we release going the wrong way, when we start realigning with who we are and what's right for us. And it does start, like you said, with clarity. So that's a really important thing. Okay. So, Christa,
Yes.
I like to leave our listeners with
Yeah.
a small action that will make a big difference. And I say this to you, listener. I know, maybe you're folding laundry, maybe you're taking a walk, maybe you're driving, maybe you're on your lunch hour at work, and you're listening to this podcast. And the next thing you're going to do is hit play on another podcast episode, hopefully Conversations Worth Your While, but maybe not. And this has been great information for you. However, we want to give you something that you can actually do, something that will move you at half a degree in a little new direction that's aligned with you and who you are. So, Christa, do you have anything that you would like to share that someone can do right now?
Yes. I would go out on a limb and say many of us have some inkling of what it is we want to do, what it is we're looking to change. And so grab a hold of that. And certainly if you don't know, we can come back to that. But if you know what that is, really take a minute, pause the next podcast, the next thing, and think about what happens if you do not pursue this dream. Right. Or this thing that you are thinking about, maybe doing. What happens if you don't?
Exactly. That's a really good, that's an excellent question to ask. People forget to ask that question. So, and along lines with that, when your brain goes, well, what if you fail? I want you to heckle that voice in your brain and say, what if I don't?
That's right. That's right.
What if I don't? What if I thrive? Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, super. Oh, well, this has been such a great conversation, Christa. Thank you so much for being my guest today on Conversations Worth Your While. If someone wanted to connect with you, speak with you, like what could they do?
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. I would love to connect with anybody who's intrigued by this conversation, regardless of where they are in the process. If they have an inkling of what they want to do, or they're not entirely sure, or they 100% know, anywhere on the spectrum, I invite people to schedule a call with me and let's talk about it and see what might be next for you. And you can do that on my website, ChristaBDowneyCoaching.com. You can reach out and schedule a call.
Perfect. That's great. I'll make sure that I put that link in the show notes for our listeners. And I wanted to say thank you again for being here. It's been a really great conversation. And dear listeners, that is our show. So once again, I am Linda Bucher on a mission to inspire and impact millions of people to know your worth and share your gifts, deliberately creating big, beautiful ripples in this world. And you cannot do that until you are fully embroiled and aligned in your big, beautiful, rich, full life. So we start there, we get you there, and from there you can get your gifts out to the world. So if that's intriguing to you and you're ready to finally get unstuck and get to that next level and get the most out of your life, head on over to lindabucher.com. It's a great first step. And if this episode sparked something in you, please be sure to like it and subscribe to this podcast. And also, you know what? Share this episode with someone that you care about. And then come back next week for another honest, uplifting conversation to help you grow. So until next time, make sure you've made this conversation worth your while by fueling the spark that it ignited.